Hello, hello. Welcome to the Addenda series where I will quickly but in detail go through one specific addendum for your knowledge. And today's addendum is a fun one. This one is the Loan Assumption Addendum. So in paragraph 3, when there is any type of loan or cash or anything, right? Because someone has to pay for the property. In paragraph 3 of your 1 to 4 family contract, or really any contract, I believe all 6 promulgated contracts, the money is talked about in paragraph 3. When we are talking about the money, there's either going to be a cash purchase, a third party financing addendum, meaning that there is a third party financing the loan assumption, which is what we're going over today, and then seller financing. It's one of the four. It's either cash, third party bringing in the money, loan assumption, or the seller is the bank. They are the money. Okay. Those are your four options. Always, always, always. And it's discussed in paragraph 3. One of those options, again, is the loan assumption. So this document is talking about what the loan assumption details will be. When you are using a third party financing addendum, which is typical, or cash, those documents are specifically talking about a third party or another bank is bringing in the money to finance this home or this property. And whatever current loan that's on the property will be paid off at closing, and now a new loan will come up with that third party. Okay. With loan assumption, there is no third party. The buyer already has, I'm sorry, the seller already has a loan. Okay. So let's just say the loan is with ABC Mortgage for $500,000. The seller already owns this home and they owe the bank $500,000 for 123 Easy Street at ABC Mortgage. Okay. The buyer comes along and says, I like ABC Mortgage and I like the loan details that you currently have. I want to assume your loan. That means I literally want to transfer the names. I want to scratch your name off and I want to write my name in. Okay. But every detail that you have in your loan, I want that loan now. Okay. So we're not starting a new loan. It is the same loan. We're just transferring the names out. When you do that, you don't need a third party bank and you don't need the seller financing. You don't need cash by itself. You need the current mortgager to then transfer those names. So this document just talks about what those details need to be. Okay. So for example, when that new buyer comes to that seller and wants to be with ABC Mortgage, their credit has to be ran by ABC Mortgage. This talks about that right here. That's what A is talking about. What is the credit worthiness? How are they going to establish the buyer's credit worthiness? Are we going to use a credit report? How many days are we going to give? Yada, yada, yada. And then we have B that's talking about everything is based on the credit approval. Seller or buyer can terminate within 7 days after the expiration of the time delivery for the actual delivery of the earnest money and everything like that, if the credit is not up to par. Then you have the actual assumption here. These details are coming from the listing if the listing agent did their homework. The listing agent should have all of the assumable details on the MLS for you to copy, or you can double down and call that mortgage company, ABC Mortgage in our example, and you can ask them, what is the unpaid balance? Is there a primary lien and a secondary lien, which is what we're talking about in 1 and 2 under paragraph C? What are the unpaid amounts? What is the interest rate? How much is owed? What's the cash portion going to be? All of those details are filled in here. Okay. I want to also make sure I clarify something else. If I'm assuming someone else's loan, that means my down payment is equal to whatever the sales price is minus the loan balance. Okay. So let me give you an easy example. If the price of the 123 Easy Street is 500,000, but the sellers owe 400,000 and I want to assume the loan, then for me to assume the loan, that means the loan terms have to be exactly the same. We're just scratching your name off and putting mine. That means I have to bring 100,000 to the table and then I can have that loan. Okay. Loan assumptions are going to be for the clients that have plenty of cash. Plenty of cash. so that they can assume that remaining balance and pay the difference from the sales price and the amount owed to the bank. Okay. Now down here, we're just giving more information about liens, notices, insurance, escrow, taxes, things like that. And you also want to make sure you discuss with the seller and buyer what it means to release liability. We did go through this in one of the other videos, and it's the release of liability and reinstatement of the veterans certificate video. Okay, so scroll through and look for that one. And what you're doing is, as the buyer, I am assuming the loan, but what happens if I don't pay? Then now the liability stays with the seller. Okay, because it was their loan to begin with, and you're the one that scratched your name off and let this other person come in here and put their name in. So if you have that liability form and you waive liability for the seller, then now when that buyer doesn't pay, there is no liability potentially left to that seller. It all goes to the buyer. Okay, so that's what this is just talking about down here. And again, just your seller liens, taxes, and insurance, escrow, notices. And if you're just afraid to sign something like this, then, consult an attorney and things like that. That's what this document is talking about. But again, so if you're assuming the loan, all the details of that loan assumption either can come from the MLS if that listing agent went ahead and put those details on there, or you can call that mortgager yourself and you can ask them, what are the details, because we're trying to do a loan assumption. Okay. All right. So I hope that helps.